Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashvatarashatashi Srimad Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Rajagrantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Swami Bhakti Vrinda Ki Nitai Go Premanandi All glories to the Summit devotees, all glories to the Summit devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Nunam pramata kurute vikarma Yadindriya pritaya aprinoti Nasadhu manye yata atmanoyam Asanapi kleshada asadeha Asadeha Nunam pramata kurute vikoyam Asanapi kleshada asadeha Others Nunam pramata kurute vikarma Yadindriya pritaya apranoti Nasadu manye yata atmanoyam Asanapi kleshada asadeha Nunam pramata kurute vikarma Yarindriya pritaya pranoti Nasadamanye yata atmanoyam Asanapi kleshada asadeha Nunam Indeed Pramata Mad Kurute performs Vikarma sinful activities forbidden in the scriptures. Yet when Indriya Pritaye for sense gratification Apranoti engages not Sadhu befitting Manye I think Yata by which Atmana of the soul Ayam this Asan being temporary Api although Kleshada giving misery Asa became possible Deha, the body. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he the truth. So, therefore, the human form of life is very dear to the Supreme Lord. There's a verse from the Bhagavatam, Shishtra Purani Vidanani Ajaya Atma Shaktya Vrikshan Saripshripa Pashung Kagadanda Shukan. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Then how does the verse continue? Taya atushta hridayam purusham vidhaya brahmavalokadishanam mudam apadeva. So this verse nicely explains that Krishna uses the Maya Shakti to create the various species of life. Then examples are given. Vrikshan means like tree bodies, reptilian bodies, pashun, animal bodies, bird bodies, and so on. So many bodies Krishna creates to house the living entities, understanding these types of subject matters. That's unfortunate because now they cannot bring satisfaction to the Lord in any way. But when one uses the human form of life just to endeavor for self-realization, that brings great satisfaction to the Lord. And all the more when one comes to devotional service. So Rishabdev is speaking about this human form of life and how it should be used. It is a great mystery. What is the purpose of life is one of the mysterious questions of the modern world, as well as what is life? What is life? What is the purpose of life? What is life? That they also don't know. What is life? And what is the purpose of life? That's just an extra thing. What is the purpose of the world, etc. So Rishabdev is spelling it out here. So then Prabhupada used the word that the human form of life is like a juncture, like a fork in the road. And one path leads to one thing and another path leads to another thing. So on the one hand, there's Mahat Sevam in one path. On the other hand, there's, what is that? Tamodoram Yoshutam Sangi Sangam. There's the association of the opposite sex and the fellowship of persons who are attached to that. And they lead to two different destinations. Those who use the human form of life to associate with great souls, then that leads to the opening of the doors of liberation. And those who use this human form of life to associate with materialistic persons, then that leads to hell. Not only does it actually lead to hell, in a literal sense, but it also leads to a hellish existence, even while you're in the same body. Both understandings are there. So then Rishabdev, after making that point, he speaks about the mentality of those who are doing the positive method of association with great souls. He says they are interested only in developing their love of God, krita soridarta. They don't associate with materialistic persons, and they are not attached to their home, their wife, their children, etc., but they're not averse to doing their duty. And they may be grihastas, it's Prabhupada puts there, but they're not averse to duties on the material platform. Sometimes people misunderstand detachment to mean throw away dharma. But that's not detachment. That's not Krishna's system. Oh, we just chant. We don't follow anything else. But that's atheism. Because, first of all, no one's just chanting. We're eating. We're sleeping. We're socializing. Right? We're taking walks in the park. Right? We're doing all these various activities. So Krishna gave a whole system of how to do all those things also. So it's not that I just chant, but I don't follow Dharma. No, we chant and we follow Dharma. Tasmat kaleshu, what is that? Tasmat kaleshu sarveshu mama nusmara yudhyacha. Arjuna asked the question in the Bhagavad Gita, how can we remember you at the time of death? And Krishna's reply is, why only at the time of death? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, at all times you should mama nusmara, you should remember me at all times. And Arjuna may have said, oh, that is very nice. I like this philosophy. I'm going to the forest. There I can remember you nicely from the forest. So then Krishna says, Yudhyacha, and you also fight. My apitormanobu there, with your mind and intelligence fixed on me, Mame Vaishasi, what is that? Asamshaya, you will attain me free from doubt. So Krishna makes this point that one has to chant Hare Krishna, Mama Nusmara, But he has to also follow Dharma. He should not be indifferent to Dharma, which is also given by the Supreme Lord for governing our existence in the material world in a way that is spiritually auxiliary. It helps. So that's what people who take the positive road do. And now in today's verse, Rishabdev, Krishna, is talking about the mentality of persons who take the other road, the road that leads to hell. So then he mentions here that they are pramata. They're crazy. They're very mad. And what is the evidence? Everyone wants evidence, right? What is the evidence that someone is crazy? Kurute vikarma. They're doing a lot of sinful activities. They're doing things which are not, they're counterproductive to the things they want to achieve. Just like Srila Prabhupada teaches that the material bodily concept of life is so strong that people often forget the means for material happiness also. So what is the means for material happiness? Because Arjuna, and this is in the context of Arjuna wanting to renounce his duties and try to be happy. Because one of his arguments is, I won't be happy if I fight in the war. Prabhupada comments, people often forget what are the means for material happiness also. Actually, we do not know. That is not possible to know how to be happy. We are misled to think that just by senses contacting sense objects that will lead to happiness. Because it makes sense, right? There was lasagna the other day, right, in the evening time. And I got back from, where were we? I think we were at Loyola program that Friday. So we got back from the Loyola program, and as soon as I walked in, lasagna, grabbed a plate, sat down and immediately started my program for happiness. And by, ingesting the lasagna, maybe without the deepest mood of devotion. And then we think, I'm happy. Man, am I happy. And then in the morning time, the limbs, so heavy. The head, okay, have to sleep until 4:25. I think I slept till 4:25 that day. I was very tired. So it's counterintuitive that sense gratification is actually a source of misery. The living entity is like, that doesn't make any sense. It took me at least 2 to 3 years to understand that sense gratification was like a problem. Like I first of all, when I read sense gratification in Prabhupada's books, I didn't know. I'm like, what is sense gratification? So it was a few weeks before I even had a concept of what that was. I thought it was just like a Sanskrit word, a translation of some type of Sanskrit word which I couldn't understand. So then I finally asked the devotees, what is sense gratification? And then they explain, senses contact. That's natural, immediately. Immediately frustration. What do you mean? No sense gratification. How does a living entity survive without sense gratification? So we were thinking it's counterintuitive for the conditioned soul that sense gratification won't lead to happiness. It's very hard for him to understand. So naturally he becomes mad after that. He concludes that this is the goal of existence. This is the whole purpose of existence. Even in Christianity, they made the point that God created the world and it was good. But it doesn't describe in detail. Of course, I'm not a Christian theologian, so they might have other nuances which I'm not familiar with. But just in people's general understanding of this point, that God created the world and it was good, but it's not specified what it was good for, right? Like Krishna is specifying very clearly what the human form of life is good for. It didn't specify, so what do the conditioned souls conclude that it's good for? Good for my sense gratification. And then when you tell them it's not meant for sense gratification, in fact, when people hear sometimes about our principles, Prabhupada is speaking about the 4 sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. Oftentimes when we describe this to people, I'm talking about religious people, they say, no, you have it all wrong. Why would God create all these things unless he wanted us to enjoy? Right, that makes a lot of sense, right? Why would he create, sex life and meat eating and intoxication? I mean, at least not too much. You should walk the middle path. Even though they might be Christians, they call Buddhism. Walk the middle path. And the middle path is do sense gratification, but don't do too much. Make a nice little balance so that you can enjoy the pleasantries of life. They say like this, and when we say, no, these are sinful activities, they lead to bondage, they become bewildered. So this is the indication of their madness, pramata kurute vikarma. They are mad because they cannot even understand how these activities lead to bondage, how the activities of sense gratification lead to bondage. Even though they have experience also of sense gratification causing misery, still they cannot understand. This was Parikshit Maharaj's contention in the beginning of the 6th canto. Drishta Shrutabhyam. People see and they also hear about the results of sinful activities. They have seen the results of sinful activities quite clearly. The 4 principles broken. Anyone can see the negative results. People have experienced also. They see means they hear. See means experience for themselves also. Not just see with their eyes from a distance, but see by their own practical experience. And they also hear from scriptures this is a source of bondage, but still they cannot give it up. Still they're pursuing, just like what is that? Kunjara Shochavat. Just like an elephant who takes bath very nicely, and as soon as he gets out, immediately puts dust on himself again. So we take bath in the, let's say, the ocean of repentance. I'll never do that again. Like sometimes, in my experience growing up in high school, before I met the devotees also, you would see people break these breakups. This is a very prominent thing. And they would be like devastated. I've often told my roommate from New York who spent 1 whole month after a breakup in the bed. And that was quite bewildering for me. I had never seen anything like that, experienced anything like that. I didn't get involved with relationships in high school. So I was fresh out of high school. I moved to New York. One of my roommates, his girlfriend, had recently broke up with him just after my arrival there. And then I saw him the whole month, 1 month in the bed. He just wanted to merge into ignorance. He wanted to forget himself. Then I was asking my cousin, I said, what's wrong with him? He said his girlfriend broke up. Why not get another one? That's the program, right? And then he said, once you experience your first love, then you can understand. And I said, that's what first Manobu did. With your mind and intelligence fixed on me, Mama Vaishasi, what is that? Asamshaya. You will attain me free from doubt. So Krishna makes this point that one and another one and another one and another one. So this is called insanity, that I try the same program in the same way and expect a different result. This is what is meant by craziness. So even though they see, they experience for themselves, they hear also, they cannot understand. They repent after experiencing some bitter sense gratification. They renounce, tiaga, and the ocean of repentance. And then they get out and then immediately try out sense gratification. I mean, it's probably just I missed the wrong combination. If you get the right combo, then it opens up, right? It's just like if you have a lock on your door. You just need the right combination, then everything, the lock is open, you can experience the treasure chest inside. So I just didn't find the right combination of sense gratification. And once I find the right combination, the ocean of rasa will pour upon me, and then I'll enjoy happiness. They are thinking like this, so Rishabdev says, pramata. They're crazy. It doesn't work. Indriya pritaya, all of this is for the purpose, so they're crazy because they're doing sinful activities. And why they're doing that? They're being compelled by indriya pritaya, which means the attempt for satisfaction of the senses. They're being impelled by this thing. Krishna describes this also in Srimad Bhagavatam. Aritam gana etena ganinas nityaverina kamarupena konteya duchparena analena cha. That the living entity's pure knowledge is covered, aritam ganam, his pure knowledge is covered by lusty desires. So he's in ignorance. He doesn't know the results of his lusty activities. And so in this way, he is attacked by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, nityaverina kamarupena. And Prabhupada describes in the purport very nicely, what is the eternal enemy of the soul? He mentions very nicely in the purport, what is the eternal enemy of the soul? That feels also. So what does it mean for material happiness? Because Arjuna, and this is in the context of Arjuna wanting to renounce his duties and try to be happy. Because one of his arguments is, I won't be happy if I fight in the war. Prabhupada comments, people often forget what are the means for material happiness also. Actually, we do not know happy. We are misled to think that just by senses contacting sense objects that will lead to happiness. Because it makes sense, right? There was lasagna the other day, right, in the evening time. And value their own opinions. Something to that effect. It was a nice quote. I should find it out again. It was a really good quote. the greatest deception is that people value their own opinions. And that's true. That's a fact. So then we get our senses satisfied. That's one program. Then our minds get satisfied in something. I think this way, and someone acquiesces to the way that I think, and I feel good. That feeling is the eternal enemy of the soul. And that's what keeps the soul constantly bound up. Therefore, Krishna says this is the eternal enemy in the form of lust, that feel-good feeling. And that's why oftentimes the living entities, they won't appreciate the message of Krishna, which instills the following of Dharma. To be an Aryan, a first-class human being, means you fix your consciousness on Dharma, actually, which oftentimes, as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, feels like poison in the beginning. And what is that poisonous feeling? I have to follow some rules. Oh, like poison. That's what Prabhupada describes in the purport. The happiness and the mode of goodness is like bitter poison in the beginning, and that bitter poison is I have to follow some rules, right? I want to do what feels good. I have an experience, and that's all of my spiritual life. So this feeling is the eternal enemy of the soul. And Dushprena Analena Cha, Krishna says, you go try to satisfy that feeling, but it shows no mercy to you. Kamadi na katina katita palita durni deshas tesham jata namai na karuna. Na karuna means there is no end to the unwanted orders of my lusty desires, no end to them. They're like ungrateful masters. No matter how much you serve, they never release you. So they're ungrateful masters, and nakununa, they show no mercy. You satisfy them, okay, like after you eat a nice meal, right? You eat a very good meal, and let's say morning time, and you feel very much, very nice. Now I'm happy, I'm satisfied. Then what happens afternoon time? Again, feeling hungry. Again, eating a nice meal. Then what happens evening time? Again. Actually, you don't have any reason to eat also. Sometimes you feel that you've eaten sufficiently also. But then again, they bring out the cherry cheesecake. How can I resist? This is and then you blame the devotees. Oh, you're so cruel. You know, I cannot control my senses, and now you're agitating me. No, this is the senses actually. They're ungrateful masters. Despite you try to satisfy the senses, you try to satisfy the mind, but they are ungrateful masters. They'll sometimes give you a sense of exaltation. One feels ecstatic. You know, we might even use the term ecstatic. But then after a few days or a few weeks, then again, oscillating down to the mode of ignorance. Then again up, and then again down. And then again up, and then again down. And on and on and on, birth after birth. Therefore, Krishna says, fix the consciousness on Dharma. And there will be some feeling of happiness, some feeling of distress. Tam Chiksu Sabarita, tolerate that onslaught. Samasukha Dukam Dhiram, see it equally, don't get too much into that. And be fixed on service to Krishna. That's the real Dharma of the age. Otherwise, we are actually being misled. Dushprena Analena Cha, we try to satisfy them, there is no satisfaction. Our eternal enemy will never be satisfied by whatever we do. I often joke like having grown up in middle school particularly was a very tormenting time period for me at least. I don't know about the rest of you. Especially getting on the school bus. The school bus, don't mind me saying, but in the black neighborhoods were just like scary. And oftentimes when we would get on the school bus, no one ever wanted to sit in the back because that's where all the bad kids would be at. And oftentimes, somehow other Christian made arrangement that wherever I live, I was one of the last kids to get on the school bus before going off to school. And sure enough, you would look for a seat in the front, very carefully, and you would look up, and there was one seat in the last row, So you had to walk through all these bad kids, basically. And they would show you no mercy, calling you names, throwing stuff at you, and then when everyone starts laughing, oh, how humiliating, right? And it was like a daily affair. You had to experience this. And then you enter into the school, and then many bullies are there, and they say, give me your money, or I'll beat you up. And you give them the money, and they beat you up. Ungrateful, very cruel. This is like the senses are just like that. Just like that. Very cruel masters. They show no mercy. So as a result of the cruelty of the senses as such, and our consciousness being absorbed in them and not in Dharma. So we... And Srila Prabhupada, he gave some instructions, start the Bhaktivedanta Institute, open temples, open preaching centers. So many engagements were there, all directed by Srila Prabhupada. Are there any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Also, nectar of devotion, sadhana bhakti, in the process as described. Harinam Sankirtan is one of the items. There's many, many other items in regulative devotional service. So we should know what's inspiring to us, but we should also know what the proper process is. And that's not a criticism. That's just one point in addition to that. I was just thinking of this thing that someone devotee was asking Srila Prabhupada, how do I get all these things done? Because he's saying, like, you have, like, the New Vrindavan situation, they're saying we have to, like, do the agricultural thing, and we have to do, like, the sadhana program, and somehow finish our rounds, and and Prabhupada...
Accepting one such material body after another set of cruel masters. Everybody brings a new